Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight, and learned too late they grieved it on its way. Do not go gentle into that good night. Grave men near death, who see with blinding sight, blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my 2023 solo winter mountain goat hunt here in beautiful British Columbia. So let's take a second and talk about the context of the hunt. So this is a draw tag, so I'm limited to hunting within a certain area. And you can't really tell from this particular frame, but it's all that way. So I have 10 days to do this hunt. Historically, I go like ball busting into the bush ASAP as soon as a hunt begins. And I've kind of learned over the years that you go slow to go fast. So today being day one, I am literally, there's like a network of FSRs in Canada. It stands for a Forest Service Road. It's like logging roads. So there's a network of logging roads in my area. And then there's basically some potential trails, like some things I've seen as trails on maps, some things people have told me about. There's been a lot of snow recently. So today is really all about ground truthing all of my expectations and all of the rumors and all of the things I've heard, and also exploring. But we're going to glass from the road and see if we can turn up a goat. It's been foggy most of the morning, but the hill I'm interested in is that way. And I'm kind of looking over here because the sky is the ceiling is raising. It's not like the overcast is broke, but the ceiling is raising. So the area which I can see is kind of opening up. So we're going to do a little bit more driving, a little bit more glassing, formulate a game plan for tomorrow. All right, so the hunt has actually begun. I kind of sat in the hotel last night and debated for a couple hours. Basically, I have two main sections. One, I heard there's a sled trail that goes all the way up to the top, but I've never ridden it and it's not on the map. Number two, there's a known trail that I can hike all the way up to the top. I've opted for the hiking trail, being that it's the safer of the two. It's the beginning of the hunt. I know I've got more time. I know I can get all the way to the top. It's also the area that's a little bit more huntable. There's kind of more saddles and more hikeable terrain up there. So I got about a 5-mile hike all the way to the top. The first third is pretty mellow, and then the second 2/3 is just straight up. But there is a cut trail, which is a godsend, because trying to bushwhack through this stuff, it's just absolute nonsense. I always forget how much harder just walking, even on flat ground, is on snowshoes than it is on just bare earth. So goal for the day is just to get to the top before dark. Literally, as long as I do that, we'll chalk it up as a win.
This is, ugh. So one of the things about hunting, and especially winter goat hunting, is that you just have no way to predict what you're actually going to run into. And like on the map, this trail looked decent. I was like, yeah, it's steep, but I should be able to get up it. I've been going like a solid hour and I'm maybe a quarter of a mile. So here's what I'm going through. It is literally like entwined chain link fence covered in snow. I was doing what I could to try and move some out of the way and knock the snow off as I go. but I'm literally like just sopping wet already. I'm not gonna lie, I'm starting to contemplate another route because I'm nowhere near where I'm going, and I've been grinding for quite a while now. But no matter what I did, today's a write-off because any of the other routes take a full day. Any of the other routes take a full day to get in, and so today would be shot anyway. So I'm gonna keep grinding. I know I've got time to get back to the truck before dark. Basically, I'll go until I hit that window, and if I'm looking at the rest of the route and it doesn't look doable, I'll go back and I'll try something else tomorrow. But live and learn. This is what happens. All right, well, I did my best, but that's a no-go. I hiked for about 3 hours, made it less than 1 mile. Had 5 miles to do total, did some quick math, and spending another 15 hours hiking didn't seem efficient. Now, let's talk about this a little bit. If that was the only area I had to hunt, this was doable. You could get in there. However, not only is it not the only area I have to hunt, I actually have a secondary way into this section. Basically, there's an old road system that comes up the backside of this range that I'm trying to get into. Now, those roads could be deactivated. It could be brushed in worse than this was. I mean, who knows? That's part of the reason I'm glad I have 10 days for this hunt. I think the first half of the hunt is just gonna be me trying route after route after route until I figure out some way to get up there. So what we're gonna do now, because I still have a couple hours left in the day, is I'm gonna bomb over, I'm gonna dump the sled, and I'm gonna run as far up, I'm just gonna go light, just pure scouting, and I'm gonna see how far up I can get up this old road system and see if I can't get in this area from up the backside. Okay, we got some good news and we got some bad news. Bad news, I can't get as far as I wanted to get up the backside of that other ridge that I was trying to come over the front on. The good news is, and this is why like scouting is so important, I don't know how well we're gonna be able to see this because this is just the GoPro. I'm not digging out the other cam. Oh yeah, that's great. So this whole cut block is not on any of the maps that I've been looking at. And it's my own fault. There is a way to see recent cut blocks and I just didn't bother looking at them. To be honest, based on the satellite imagery, it looked like there was pretty recent logging back in here. So I didn't think there would be any newer stuff, but it was actually pretty old. And this has been logged over top of it. Anyways, long story long, there's a really nice section of alpine, maybe the map says it's about 1,200 feet from the top of this cut block, which is not bad at all. And this is really nice old mature timber, so it should be decent walking. So game plan for tomorrow is sled back to this spot at the crack of dawn, which to be honest is more like 8 a.m. because it's dead middle of winter and the days are super short. Sled back to here for 8 a.m. I was contemplating trying to sled up these cut block roads, but I'm not gonna risk it. I'm just gonna hike in. It'll take me half an hour to hike to the top of those blocks. So park here, hike to those top of those blocks, and then just bush bash through this old growth until I get up into that alpine. And there's at least 2-3 days worth of country up there to sit in glass. So we got a game plan.
All right, folks, we're back at her. So far, so good. Sledded back in to where we left off last night. Had zero issues. Everything went smooth as silk. Hiking in, snow is super deep and super fluffy. So it's a bit of a grind, but it's clear sailing. I'm hiking up a old logging road into a cut block right now. And overall, things are good. It's gonna take me a little longer than expected, but I don't know how long it's gonna take me to recognize that on a winter hunt in snowshoes, everything takes you longer than expected, no matter what you expect. But feeling really positive. Got about maybe 2,000 feet and a mile to get to the top. So yeah, let's get after it. Probably asking yourself right now, wait a minute, I thought Jay was snowshoeing up to the top of the mountain. Why do I see his snowmobile in the back of the frame? Well, we got halfway up the mountain. Oh God. And this happened. Oh, son of a bitch. It's my fault. These are the same snowshoes I took last time. The same thing happened to them last time. I thought I was just maybe being too rough. I thought maybe last time I was too heavy. I'm down a couple pounds. My pack is down at least 20 pounds from last time. Like for sure, I thought, oh, I gotta be honest. You having one of those days when you feel like things are conspiring against you. I mean, it's been cloudy and snowy since I got here. I haven't been able to glass the top. Every route I try to get in is just a complete shit show. Oh man. All right, game plan. Sled back to the truck, throw the sled on the truck, bomb down to where there's some cell service and start calling every single person I know within 300 kilometers. It's Saturday, it's between 12 and 1, I don't know exactly. Maybe I can get a hold of a store. I know there's a Canadian Tire in Prince George. That's a pretty far drive. If I have to, I just got to get the biggest, burliest snowshoes I can and maybe go back over a map and see if there's a way to sled closer to the top. I don't know, but I ain't quitting. I'll go in there in my goddamn feet with no snowshoes if I have to. All right, stay tuned. All right, I got 2 words for MSR Lightning Ascent snowshoes. Never and again. Second pair I've blown through. Listen, I'll get into details, what happened, how I blew them up, the whole 9 yards, but I have more important information right now. So if anyone I know is between Hazelton and Prince George and has a pair of giant bulletproof snowshoes, they got to fit a size 14 boot, please DM me. Otherwise, I'm hitting the highway as soon as possible. I'm going to get on the phone every place I can think of in Smithers and Prince George and try and get snowshoes as quickly as possible and get back into the mountains as quickly as possible. So again, if anybody knows of any snowshoes between Hazelton and Prince George, please shoot me a DM so I can get my ass back to goat hunting. Okay, first and foremost, I want to thank everybody who reached out and offered help in a variety of ways. The problem has been rectified. I was able to make it down to Smithers. I want to give a shout out to a friend of a friend, Anthony, who's a local that knew where I should go. And I want to give a shout out to Local Supply Co. I went in and picked up a pair of Atlas Montanes. They look pretty badass, and I've had a lot better luck with the tubular design than with the flat metal design. And then I went to Canadian Tire and got a pair of tubs as backup. I rocked these for years doing layout, and I've never had a pair of tubs break on me.
They're a little heavy and the bindings aren't the most sophisticated in the world, but we got 2 pairs. So gonna head back up north, get a hotel, pass out for the night, eat a shitload of food, wake up at the crack of dawn tomorrow and get after it.
All right, this might be one of those situations where I'm being overly conservative. I could potentially power right through this water bar, no problem on this machine. But I'm not an expert snowmobile rider, and I'm solo, and I'm really far back. And if you've never had to dig out a stuck snow machine, you won't know what I'm talking about, but it could kill my entire day, if not my entire trip. So I'm deciding to take, what did that take? 6-7 minutes? And just bring all the extra snow in from the edges of the water bar and fill it up. I've done it to 3 back there so far, and I cruise across, no problem. Maybe if I get to some shallower ones further up, I'll do a little bit of testing and see how much I can get away with. And I don't know, because it's all white, how well it's gonna show up on film, but these things are really incised. So it's not that I can't drive through this snow, is that the nose of the machine is gonna be coming down at such a steep angle when it hits the other side. I'm not convinced the nose just isn't gonna dig straight in, and I need it to be kind of arcing up the other side. So probably the tool of the trip so far is this collapsible backcountry shovel. I love this thing. So yeah, man, if that's what we gotta do, that's what we gotta do. If I can get to the top of this block, it is unbelievable how much effort that will save me walking. Even if I have to take all day today just to break a trail to the top, come all the way back down tonight, and go back in tomorrow morning, then so be it. That's what I'll do. But so far, so good. So here we go. Literally not 2 minutes after I made that last little speech, went to come through this water bar, and this other side was just way too steep. Ran into it, got stuck. Luckily, 10 minutes, I got myself out. But who thought I'd be doing so much shoveling on a hunt? All right, that's about 45 minutes of digging, and I think this is about as far as we're gonna get with the sled. I kept hoping I was gonna run into a place to turn around, but this road is so narrow. And what happened is they stopped doing water bars back there, but they did like a rebuild for this section, or a debuild, where they actually like tear up the road, and they created these big ruts and then threw everything in the middle. And I didn't really realize it, but I got stuck between 2 of them. So I'm feeling pretty hopeful that I've got enough of it out now that I'll be able to get up onto that flat, maybe about 20 meters in front of me. And if I can get up there, I'm going to shut the machine down, put on the snowshoes, and keep going on foot. Oh man, I got it turned around. That was crazy. There are times when being solo is just not all it's cracked up to be. I will say this though, when I'm hiking, being 260 pounds sucks. Trying to muscle around that thing I don't know how you'd do it if you were just a little dude. I just don't. Like, the thing is such a tank. And then when it gets the compacted snow all around the sides. All right, but here's the deal. It is now 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm not even out of the cut block. However, I made it a very good chunk of the way up the hill. No matter what, I'm staying out here tonight. Part of me was like, well, now that you got a trail going down to the truck, why don't you just run back to the truck, spend one more night in town, and then you can start right here at the crack of dawn. And my mind just can't take going back to that shitty hotel in Hazelton. Like, they're very nice people, don't get me wrong, but it's just like, I just associate that room with failure. Because like every time I come out here and I get my ass kicked, I got to go back to that same room with the weird bed sheets and the freaking weird carpet and everything else going on. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. I'm staying out here tonight no matter what. Now, I still have a pretty decent hike through the rest of the cut block. And I'm kind of thinking worst case scenario, if I just get up to the top of the cut block and 50 or 60 meters into the trees, so I got a really good idea what I got looking at tomorrow morning, camp there for the night, and then head straight up on in at the crack of dawn tomorrow morning. I wanted to make one safety note. You'll notice it was really, really important to me that I got this sled turned around. I don't care what it is you bring out into the field. If it's a truck, if it's a sled, if it's a quad, but from 15 years of working in forestry, you get that truck, you get that vehicle turned around. And we used to get, it wasn't like a fine, but your truck always had to point towards camp if you were parked. And I think this is a throwback to manual transmissions, because if you have a manual transmission and you're parked at the top of the hill facing in the right direction, even if you run out of, if your battery dies, you can still roll start it. But now it's just so ingrained to me, no matter what I take to the field, I get it turned around. Because I don't know what shape I'm going to be in when I get here. Maybe I get injured up there. Maybe something happens. And when I get to this sled, the only thing I'm capable of doing is getting on the sled and heading out. That's why I'm only 100 meters up from where it was, in all that snow down there. But now with a clean conscience, I can head in for the rest of this hunt and not worry about it. So just pro tip, never leave a vehicle stuck and always have your vehicle pointing towards camp when you head into the field. All right, let's put the snowshoes on and get to hiking.
All right, well, we made it as far as we're gonna make it. I'm still right at the edge of the cut block. I'm about halfway to where I'm figuring I'm gonna start to see goats. Got tent set up. Here's a little peek at camp. I literally just finished. I haven't even cooked dinner or anything yet. So kicked out a nice little flat spot, set up the Stone Glacier Soul. This is my first night in this tent. And then I'll go over my sleep system more thoroughly later, but I've got an Xped Ultra 7R, a Enlightened Equipment 20-degree synthetic quilt, and then over there I have a Sea to Summit sleeping bag liner. And I'm basically going to be trialing puffy clothes with a quilt, with a liner as the lightest potential sleep system. So I didn't eat enough today and I didn't drink enough today. So I still got a few hours before bed. I'm gonna eat all of the day's rations, pound 3 or 4 liters of water, and try and get as much sleep as I can, and probably start hiking up in the dark with a headlamp in the morning. So another grinder of a day, but at least I'm in the mountains, man. I feel better not going back to that hotel. So time to eat, get some sleep, and try again tomorrow.
All right, we broke camp. We cleared all the way into the end of the cut block. And now we're in the timber and we're about to start heading up. I tried to go up with the snowshoes and it was a no-go. So we're gonna switch to crampons. Give me a second and I'll show you. So that's the deal. We got one last push to the top. It's pretty severe, but we got lots of time. Just gonna keep it slow and steady, and we will get to the Alpine today. All right, so we're about halfway up to the top. Just stopped for a snack and to warm up and dry off a little bit. When it's really cold like this and you get crazy sweaty from doing a big climb like I just did, as soon as I stop, I throw on a puffy layer, put my hoods, put my toque on. You almost feel a little bit clammy at first, but it's the only way to push the moisture out of your clothing. So I sat here for about half an hour, had some food, drank some water, had a cup of hot coffee, and now I'm gonna push the rest of the way up to the top. I'm feeling pretty positive. It's a grind, but I'm halfway and the steepest section is below me. So in about another 100 meters, it's gonna level off a little bit. It's still essentially the side of a cliff, but it's a much more manageable cliff. I'm noticing with this depth of snow, there's like a particular angle that the hill can reach. And when it reaches it, it's almost impassable because you just hit this wall of snow in front of you. But the crampons are working fantastic. I'm making pretty good time, all things considered. So gonna finish up my little break here and get headed back up onto the top as a bunch of snow falls on me. All right, stay tuned. All right, that is the end of day 2 in the mountains. So I was not able to get all the way up to the top, and you can see why. It's dark and I couldn't hike anymore. Really short days this early in January. It was one of the trade-offs of coming this early, but I didn't have much of a choice. I probably could have made it maybe another 20 minutes before it really got dark, but I found this like super fluky flat spot on the middle of this kind of grinder hill I've been walking up, and I was like, it's just too good to pass up. So got camp all set up. So I'm gonna settle in for the night. Now, a couple of tips here. It's literally like 5:30 at night right now, and it's pitch black. Obviously, I can't eat dinner and go to bed. I can't sleep for 14 hours straight. So what I typically do in this situation, because I'm so wet from hiking all day, is I'll get into my sleeping bag fully clothed right now for maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours, and I'll listen to an audiobook, and that'll dry me out like 70, 80%. I'll get out of bed, I'll make dinner,
have a little walk around camp just to kind of like stretch it out, and then go back to bed legit around, 9:30 or something like that. It helps spread out the night, and I can't sleep for too long on one of those sleeping pads, so it helps to kind of break it up into like a little nap. Plus, if my clothes are dry enough, I might be able to switch out into some more comfy long johns or something like that to sleep into instead of these big, baggy kind of pants I got. Just helps break up the night a little bit more, and that way when I go to bed for real, I can do it in more dry clothes and maybe a few less clothes and be a little bit more comfortable. So that's it for the night. Maybe 2.5 hours, I think, to hit the Alpine in the morning. So pretty excited about that. Just keep on keeping on.
Well, she ain't getting any easier, but we're getting there. I think I got a decent route. Another couple hours, we should hit the top. I'm going to be 100% honest. I don't really usually let doubt creep into my mind, but I did not know if I was going to make it up here. Holy shit. That was hands down the toughest hike of my life. And I'm going to be honest with you, it was not that impressive. Like, that took 3 days. And I mean, I got to look on the map, but I think it's like 1.5 miles as the crow flies. And maybe from where I stopped sledding, 2,000, 2,500 vertical feet. Like, that's a good afternoon in normal conditions. Just the snow was so deep. Anyways, I'm up here. The area looks phenomenal. I'd show you around, but as soon as I got up here, this fog blew in. There's literally like glassable country right on the other side of that, so I'm trying not to be too loud. I'm gonna make a coffee. I'm gonna have some food and water. I stamped out a spot for the tent. I'm gonna wait to set it up so that this can set up and get nice and hard so I can use some pegs. But yeah, we did it. We made it to the top. Okay, had a bite to eat and came over here and started glassing. Let me give you a little look at what's going on. So I've got this relatively decent bowl all in front of me. After I've been glassing it for about half an hour, I haven't seen a single track or trail. I think it's too shallow. It's not steep enough, and there's not enough cliffs. The snow is so deep up here that I don't think the goats are interested in this. I think they're probably going to be hanging out at the bottom of exposed cliffs where the snow is not so deep. Now, there might be some more of that on the other side. It's hard to tell from satellite and ortho imagery what's going to be cliffy once the snow falls. But it looks like there's some more on that other side. It's too late in the day for me to make a push over there now, but I can kind of eye out a decent little route that I can hike tomorrow. And I was going to wait for sun to come up so I could glass this bowl again. But the fact that there's not a single trail, I don't think it's worth it. So I can actually leave camp, in the dark, an hour before sunrise, and try and make it across this ridgeline so that I can be glassing that other bowl. So that I can be glassing that other bowl when the sun comes up tomorrow morning. But I'm just going to sit here until dark and keep glassing. Camp is literally like 50 meters over that way. And who knows, maybe something will pop over one of these ridge lines, or I'll see something move that I didn't see earlier on. All right, well, that's another day in the books. I did not see any goats this evening. The snow depth up here is really challenging, and I need to find some cliffy stuff, but I'm going to set out and have a big hike tomorrow, see what I can turn up. Got camp all set up. Pretty funny, I took my quilt out of the bag to get everything ready for the night, and it was frozen from the condensation that was on it when I put it away this morning. So it's like cracking and crinkling, and I'm pulling it all apart. It's just like, you got to give your head a shake. It's like not hospitable circumstances, but feeling good, man. Got a full belly, ready to catch some sleep, and try again tomorrow morning. All right, we're finally getting going. It was puking snow all morning, and where I think I might start to see some cliffy areas that are more likely to hold goats is maybe like 250 meters over there. So I was a little hesitant to walk over there when I wouldn't be able to see anything, because if there is any goats, I'm just gonna bump them. So I hung out in the tent for a little while. It's still pretty early, it's like 8:30. Snow was completely stopped, still pretty heavily overcast. But I think the forecast says no more snow for today. So I'm up above the fog, so hopefully I can see what I need to see. But I thought I'd give you a little bit of a rundown on my morning routine, because some of the people have been hitting me up that want to do more winter hunts. It's these like little things that make your day go a lot better. So first of all, the nice thing about winter goat hunting is you can camp up in the Alpine and you never have to worry about water because you are surrounded by snow. So first things first, I make 1.7 liters of water. Let me show you my little setup here first. So MSR reactor, GSI Microlight, coffee mug, and then a Nalgene water bottle. And my breakfast was right there that you don't see anymore because I already ate it. So basically, what I do is I boil 1.7 liters of water. Now, a major tip for melting snow is don't cram your pot full of snow. What you want to do is start with a little bit of snow, melt it down so it's a little bit wet at the bottom, and then just continually keep adding snow to keep it at that like 80% water, 20% kind of ice. And then as the ice goes away, you add more snow. If you do it the other way, it takes a lot more fuel. And that's the other note that I'll make. In general, you're going to burn through way more fuel when you're melting snow for water. I account for one 227 gram canister for every 2 days I'm up here. That's a little overkill, but it's the last thing in the world you want to run out of trying to save a couple 100 grams. So I boil 1.7 liters of water. I use 1 liter in my Nalgene. I want that water that goes in the Nalgene to be quite warm.
Otherwise, it's gonna freeze while I sit around hiking or glassing. I add some electrolytes to that water. I then pour 200 milliliters into my breakfast, which is like granola, protein, and some berries. I then pour 500 milliliters into my coffee, and I use 2 Starbucks Via. And the idea is I'm gonna drink half the water, eat all the breakfast, and drink half the coffee, and then pack up and leave for the day. Now, it doesn't matter if I'm hiking, if I'm glassing, if I'm doing whatever, this is the exact same routine every morning. Because if I'm hiking, I know I can stop in 2 hours. I don't have to do anything. I could smash some energy chews and drink the rest of my coffee. It's still hot, it's in the thing. I know I've got 500 mils of water left. I can smash that back real quick. I'm ready to go, I'm ready to keep hiking. If I'm going off to glassing, I can kick out my little glassing pad, I can sit there and I can just sip on coffee and have some water and eat some snacks while I go. So there you go, morning routine on a solo winter mountain goat hunt.
Vitamins and history books.
All right, so we hiked about a mile from camp. Haven't seen anything of interest yet, but I've got a different vantage point on the bowl I was looking at yesterday, opening up some new country, and I can see off into a different basin that I was trying to get to earlier, that if I saw something over there, maybe I could figure out a way to get over there. So let me show you what we got going on here. So that's the basin over there that I might be able to hike into. That's got some steeper stuff. I don't know. It's all pretty slim chances up here, but we're gonna have a sit and have a glass and see if we can turn something up.
Psychology and a different way to look at it all. 'Cause my perspective is broken. If suffering's a way to earn your keep, I better start putting miles on my...
All right, just about to make a fresh cup of coffee, pound that, and then get headed across this mountain. So I don't know if it's gonna show up on film. I'll do the best I can, but I'm gonna show you the route that I'm gonna try and take to get to this new basin on the other side. Okay, follow this ridge line up here, and then right before this series of peaks, we're going to cut across. I'm going to see if I can freeze focus. And then we're going to cut across the toe of that ridge, and then this saddle right here, I'm trying to get over and into the other side. So follow this ridge line, cut across the toe of that slope, pop into the far basin. I can see bare rock. I'm not super worried about any avies or anything. There's a nice gradient, enough snow that the snowshoes should have grip, but I'm still gonna play it safe. If I get over there and I feel there's any warning bells at all, I'll bail, but looks good. I don't think it'll be an issue.
But I'm so tired of wandering. Yeah, I'm lost, but I'm living.
Holy shit, I made it. I'm not gonna lie, that was kind of nerve-wracking. I'm doing an update here because right over here is that basin I'm trying to get in. So here's what I just did. That last spot I was pointing was camp this morning, about 1.5 miles to here. And that last stretch was on the sketchy end of the spectrum. But we're here, still got tons of daylight. I can see some promising country. So let's cross our fingers and hope for the best.
Can I be forgiven?
Well, that was moderately embarrassing. So I sit down. As soon as I sit down, I start seeing these trails everywhere. I'm like, holy shit, those look fresh. Didn't really pay too much attention. And it kind of seemed weird because like some of them would like go to nowhere and just stop. And I'm like, well, that's weird. But then I see this like flash of white going up one of the trails. I'm like, holy shit, it's a goat. So I run to the pack, get the phone scope, run back down, put the phone scope on, pull them up. And it's these birds. Like your depth perception and your sense of perspective gets so skewed when you're looking through a spotting scope. Like I thought I was looking 1,000 yards away at a goat, and I was looking 300 yards away at a big white bird. And I'm kind of embarrassed, but I don't even know what kind of birds these are. I'm gonna look them up as soon as I get back out to cell service. But they were like big, and they were digging down and like eating, and their tracks are everywhere. So anyways, I just spent 2 hours glassing this basin. I'll show it to you. And again, I mean, the gradients are just too shallow. There's not enough steep, bare exposed rock. And I mean, it is there, but it's under the snow. So when I was looking at the imagery, these looked like they would be good basins, but now that I'm seeing them in person, they are not ideal. Now, I did cross 2 goat tracks, older goat tracks, on the flats back up here, and they were kind of going up and over. So maybe the snow got too deep for them here and they're headed to another section. I don't know. But that's about all I got for today. I got to start hiking now if I'm going to make it back to camp before dark.
I thought by now pain would be my friend. I know that discomfort was a means to an end.
All right, back at camp, doing the same old thing. Heating up some water. Tent's all set up. Everything's kind of tucked away. Yeah, not a whole lot to add for tonight. So we're basically out of food now, and I have not seen anything up here that makes me think it's worth going to get more food or trying to figure out a way to make it, without food for a day or two. So I'm going to wake up in the morning, hike down the mountain, and regroup. I got a couple different things playing around in my mind about game plans. Pretty sure what I want to do, but I'll take the hike out tomorrow to really think about it and make sure. And then we basically got 2.5 more days to try and get this done.
All right, it's been a pretty windy night, and it's pretty windy this morning. It's basically been snowing inside the tent all night because the condensation is freezing to the inside of the tent, and then the tent blows like a son of a bitch, and the frozen condensation shakes off as snow. Somebody getting randomly dumped on the face with snow all night. Anyways, it is what it is. Tent held up fantastically. I'm in a good mood. We're gonna pack up, hike down this godforsaken mountain with no goats on it, get in the truck and try and go find some goats. Don't think I'm gonna film a whole lot on the way down. If you're really curious, just play the last footage in reverse because I'm just doing the same shit I already did. All right, we'll see you at the bottom. All right, here's the deal. It's noon on Friday. So I kind of have like a full day and a half left. I made it unbelievably far on the sled. Like, my God, I wish I had just come this way 5 or 6 days ago. But like, how I found out about this and a bunch of other factors that are out of my control that didn't happen in the right time. Anyways, other than getting stuck for 2 hours, I made it unbelievably far. I'm quite near the top. So near the top that I almost don't want to go any further because like 300-400 meters above me is a really promising looking cliff face, but it's snowing so hard. Check this out. See that? That's legitimately mountain right there. But I can't see it, and I don't want to sled any further at the risk of bumping anything. So I think I just got to hold up here. There's basically a big ridge in front of me. I'd like to camp on that ridge so I can take advantage of any breaks in the snow that happen. But basically now it's just a waiting game, and I pray to God I get a couple hours at some point in the next day and a half to glass, because I'm very optimistic that there's very goaty country right up above me. So anyways, I'll keep you all updated. All right, here's the deal. I got up a little bit further. I'm basically as far as I want to go, but it's such intense whiteout conditions right now. I can't even make sense of like the grade of the hill in front of me. Like it's all just one big white blur. It's like 2:30 right now. I've been sitting up here for 2 hours and it just hasn't broken. There's just nothing I can do. I want to get the sled maybe another 100 meters. And then I'm just going to make camp and just hope that this stuff breaks at some point. Well, I figured if I was going to be stuck in these whiteout conditions, I might as well at least make myself cozy. So it's 3:30 now, and it just keeps getting thicker and thicker and deeper. So I don't know. There's literally terrain I can glass like 300 meters that way, and I can't see 100 meters in front of me. So I doubt this is going to clear before tonight, but I decided to take a little extra time with my shelter and get myself a nice little chill spot. It's tough. It gets dark at like 5 o'clock and you get in the tent, you don't get out until 8 o'clock. Like, you can't lay down flat for 15 straight hours. So I wanted a nice little chill section here out front so I could maybe just, listen to some tunes or a podcast and eat some food and like just chill out a little bit and kind of relax before actually going to bed. So that'll be it for today. If somehow this magically breaks and I get some glassing in, I'll shoot some footage. Other than that, just cross our fingers that this blows through and we've got some clear skies tomorrow.
All right, the gods have smiled upon us. The weather broke, it's crystal clear. We got one more day. I hiked up to the first little ridge yesterday when I showed you that just white fog. This is what you should have seen. So now it's all this stuff on the left that I'm most concerned with. And right where that one kind of hogsback ridgeline came down, there's a whole bowl that opens up on the other side of that. So I just sat down here, I glassed everything. I'm gonna be very conservative. Walk a couple hundred meters, glass the shit out of everything. Walk a couple hundred meters, glass the shit out of everything, because I don't want to bump anything as I move through here, because it's this steep, cliffy stuff that I think I'm going to find something in. So like I say, one day left, here we go. Better or for worse, I made it to the top of the area that I was hoping to get to, and as soon as I got here, it started snowing and the fog blew back in. So I'll give you a quick look at what's going on, and then I'm going to start glassing as much as I can before this just blows in and I'm back in whiteout. So lots of great country. I just don't know what I'm going to be able to see. Do my best.
All right. Did the best I could. And the best I could do was not good enough. It's the way it happens, man. All right. I'll do a wrap up in a bit here, but I got a lot on my mind because clearly this ain't going to lift in the next hour or two. There's no way. It's just thick as soup in here. I still got to hike all the way back to camp, and I got a hell of a long sled ride to get back to the truck. And there's a couple sections that are sketchy and it kind of has my stomach in knots. Just, I don't want to get stuck again like I did yesterday. Oh, it's just heavy, man, when these things wrap up the way you don't want them to after you work so hard.
but it's just the way it goes sometimes. For now, I'm gonna focus on getting back to the truck in one piece with all my gear. We'll do a wrap up in a bit. Well, one of the nice things about having these long drives home is it gives you a chance to reflect and think about the hunt. And the one thing that I keep coming back to is that sometimes the how of the thing is more important than the what of the thing. And I've been thinking how my daughter is a good example of this. So what did I do? I had a daughter with my wife. But how I raise that daughter and how I help turn her into the woman who she's going to become is more important than the fact that I just had a daughter. And I think there's a case to be made that the same thing is true of hunting. Like, what did I do? I went on a goat hunt. I would argue that how I went on that hunt is more important than what I actually did. At least it is for me. Now, what I'm about to say is probably going to be considered pretty controversial. I don't really give a shit. I don't hunt for food. I don't hunt for conservation. And I don't hunt for local or geopolitical issues and raising awareness of those said issues. Now, while all of those things are deeply important to me, when I'm truly honest about what resonates in my core, none of those three issues are the primary reason why I hunt. I hunt to test myself as a man. It is the best field I have discovered for me to see what I'm capable of. I've tried everything. I used to compete in jiu-jitsu. I used to compete in CrossFit. I've done all kinds of different things. I've done interior camping and hiking and mountaineering and all the rest of it. But hunting is the one domain where I can test myself as a man, to see where I break and where I bend, to see where I fail and how I respond to those failures, to see what I'm truly capable of. And if I'm brutally honest with you, that's the primary reason why I hunt. And one of the things that I'm really working on this year is focusing on my successes as much as I focused on my failure. Because I do honestly believe that people run away from failure too much.
Now, if we look at the ultimate goal of this hunt, it was to kill a goat. I failed to do that, okay? I'm going to come back to that in a minute. However, I did succeed at a number of other issues. I figured out a unit I'd never been to before. The first time I really took a sled on a hunt. I've worked with them in the past, but going that deep solo, I mean, that'll pucker your butthole, man. When you're like, I hope this thing just keeps working and nothing goes wrong, and you get it stuck, hip deep a couple times, and you're thinking to yourself, am I going to be able to get out of here? Am I going to have to pull the pin and get somebody to like come help me? So being able to get in that deep and out that deep, and having no major issues, and surviving in the cold and the wet and the snow, and having insane hikes, and being able to pull all that together, like those are big wins. Those are big wins that I'm really proud of. But in my mind, I have an image of the hunter that I want to be, and I'm just not that hunter yet. And I think I still have quite a ways to go. And maybe I push myself too hard. Maybe I have goals that are too lofty. I take a lot of slack because people don't think I should be doing these types of hunts, until I've got more experience at kind of like simpler hunts, or have stacked more bodies, or whatever the case may be. But I defined my goal as a hunter a very long time ago. And what excites me about hunting is these new areas, new challenges. I want to raise the bar every single time I go out. And I honestly feel like I did that. This was one of the more technical hunts I've ever had to do in my life. And physically, I think I can safely say it was the hardest hunt I've ever had to do in my life. But I did fail. And failing is okay. I think everybody needs to go through that process for themselves to answer that question, what hunting is for them and what they want to get out of it. And I'm not here to answer that question for anybody else. And if what you do is legal and ethical, I support you 100%. And if there's any way that I can help you along your journey, just let me know, man. But for me, this is what I'm hoping to get out of a hunt. And in that way, again, I've said it, but I think there was a lot of wins in this hunt. There's a lot of room for improvement. And maybe that's what I'll close out with. I really had two goals as far as hunting goes coming into the new year. And now I realize there's a third kind of behavioral based goal that I'm going to add in there. Number one was more mentorship. I do think I've kind of gone off half-cocked and done a lot of really challenging hunts. And because of my forestry engineering background, I'm able to make it around in the mountains pretty good. And I've been able to go to some cool places and see some cool shit. But there's still some like basic underlying hunting skills that I need to improve on to really make the most of those. Because with how hard I'm working, I should be killing more things. Like, that's just the fact of the matter. Because there's people out there who are not working as hard and who are being more successful. And I those people inspire me. I want to learn from those people. And it's because they're working smarter, not harder. So number one, more mentorship. And I have two more big expedition-like hunts planned this year, and both of them I'm going with more experienced hunters than myself. And that's perfect. That's exactly what I want. Number two, more scouting. And that, I'll get into it more on the podcast about exactly what I could have done differently on this hunt that I think would have given me a greater chance for success. But pre-scouting in the off season, 100%. Like, I should have just went up there for 1 or 2 nights, taken my daughter, made a weekend trip about it, brought a quad up for the weekend, bombed around on all the back roads, and just looked at the unit. Just got, a feel for it so that when I showed up, it wasn't just all completely new. So more mentorship, more scouting. And then this new one is to focus on the successes just as much as I focus on the failure, because I think there's just as much to be learned from both. And I don't want to hide from my failures, but I also don't want to hide from my success. I think that they are equally capable of contributing to our learning and our growth as a hunter. And at the end of the day, I used to come home from these things when I was unsuccessful, like really depressed. And I don't anymore. I'm a little melancholic. Like, I'm not bouncing off the walls in here. Like, it's a somber mood as I crush out the 16-hour drive to get home, but it's not depressed. And I think it's because I know beyond the shadow of a doubt that I left everything on the mountain. I did not have, with my current skills, there was not one more thing I could have done, not one more ounce of energy, discipline, or will I could have exerted on that mountain in order to be successful. And the reason I can say that with confidence is that I don't feel like shit and I don't feel depressed. And the way I'm wired is the only time that happens is when I know I've truly exhausted every option I had at my disposal. And I can say that I did. So it is what it is, man. You win some, you lose some. And this one I lost, but I put up a good fight. So until next time, thanks for tuning in.
Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. The wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning. They do not go gentle into that good night. Good men the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Wild men who court and sang the sun in flight, and learned too late they grieved it on its way. Do not go gentle into that good night. Grave men near death, who see with blinding sight, blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. And you, my father, there on the sad height, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light.